Hello and welcome to My Mom's Basement, presented by 3Chi and Barstool Sports, and welcome to the Disney Boys edition of My Mom's Basement. It's Robbie and Clem. We're not only going to recap our trip to Galaxy's Edge and Disney today, but we're also going to talk about The Mandalorian Chapter 18, The Mines of Mandalore, which, oh my God, that's not on the back burner. Well, it kind of is while we talk about Disney, but it doesn't deserve to be there because it was tremendous. Clem, how we feeling?
People were hyped after their Mando, and people are hyped for the Disney Boys. The Disney Boys had a great time. I don't know if you guys could hear it in the voices or see it on the YouTube. Got two weathered folks podcasting right now. We're hurting right now.
We're
just
hurting
after
bad guys.
2 days, man. 2 day, 1 day at Disney in the parks. 1 day we did a Universal. Just me and Robbie. We became the Springfield Boys for a little. Hit up some Hogwarts, Jurassic Park. We dabbled in the closest thing you'll get to Marvel Land in Universal. But we're both feeling it right now. So you guys,
I could hear it on your voice for sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
I just feel like Dave says, like a noodle.
Yes.
That's how I feel today.
We're in noodle brain. I'll try to avoid us making any sharp left turns and just rambling about nonsense, but I can feel that could be the issue. And I was also told by my wife like a week ago, she's like, oh yeah, by the way, when you come back from Disney, both kids are going to be off from school that day, so you're going to have them. So they're upstairs. We might have an AJ appearance on the podcast, as we sometimes do when his iPad stops leaching his brain cells from him. So we're hurting, but we had an absolute fantastic time. I hope the video really follows through just how fun it was, and it was a blast, man. It was everything I hoped and then some, right?
Absolutely. Shout out Dave. Big shout out to Dave for funding the whole trip and everything. And two other shout outs I want to make right off the front about the Disney trip itself. One, Aussie Dave, our VIP tour guide. This guy was the absolute man. I think Ken Jack said he was like an encyclopedia of Disney knowledge, and he was correct about that. He had fun facts about every ride, telling us how much the animatronics cost, telling us when they put the ride in, when they're going to take it out, when they're going to replace it, this, that, the next thing. Awesome dude. I also wanted to shout out Austin. Like a lot of people that watch the videos didn't see Austin in the videos because he was taking all of them. And what people didn't even realize, a lot of the time he's taking 2 videos on 2 phones, like a vertical for social, a horizontal for the video. And he was also having a blast. I tried to keep checking in with him like, dude, are you having fun? Like, is this awesome for you too? And every time he's like, yeah, dude, I'm in fucking Disney right now. Like, this is amazing. He was a Star Wars guy too, so he was enjoying all the Galaxy's Edge stuff. Those two, I was like, unspoken heroes of the day. Well, for now, unspoken. When the video comes out, I think Aussie Dave's going to steal the show.
Oh, 1,000%. Aussie Dave was incredible. Like you said, he did all that stuff, gave us the fun facts, kept it loose. And when you do it with an Australian accent, it makes it like 50% better or more fun, or you're just kind of just in the mode. So that was great right off the jump. And then the fact that Aussie Dave, it's like he has a nickname right off the bat.
Yeah.
And Austin is just Austin real. And, I think it's a lot of Austin's life is he has to be Dave's like guy. So he's behind the camera a lot, but he is like the perfect just vibes guy. Like he's just there. He's cool. He's happy. Guy. And when you're just BSing, shooting the shit when the cameras are off or whatever, he's just one of the boys, one of the fellas. So I'm a big Austin fan, and I haven't really got to see him that much other than when I stopped in the office to say a word or two. So that was a great time. Aussie Dave. So I imagine, so the VIP tour, for people that don't know about it, it's like $750 an hour.
Yeah.
To have a VIP tour guide take you
minimum
around,
7 hours, by the way.
Minimum 7 hours. So you're looking at $5,000 right off the jump, right? They take you to whatever parks you want to go to. If you want to go to one park, you want to go to all 4 parks. They can take you wherever you want. They'll pick you up at your hotel, drive you to everywhere. And you kind of hit like the guts of Disney to get to places
backstage.
Instead of you don't go through the front main gate. And the funny thing is about our boy Aussie Dave is that he had never really heard of Dave Portnoy, Barstool. I never heard of Barstool. He's trying. I'm gonna have to work on my Aussie accent, in case I try to impersonate him here. But I think a few of the other people in his like VIP tour guides after he had started was like, dude, you got this guy Dave Portnoy, and I could see Dave as the day went on. Aussie Dave was growing to realize that Dave Portnoy has a draw on people. So an absolute blast. And I shout out. I got gifted a tour for my trip in a few weeks. And I have I have a tour. I get to book a tour, and I'm like, can I book Aussie Dave? Because he was such a goddamn delight. And I think he's going to be the absolute star of this video. Because that was the other thing. So he didn't know anything about Barstool. If we had like a Stoolie tour guide, I think we could have also had like a KO Barstool tour guide that hates Barstool.
Yeah.
That's definitely, I guarantee there's probably one of them somewhere in the mix of the tour guides. But then there could be like a big Barstool fan that would just let Dave walk all over them, because Dave has a presence. Aussie Dave didn't give a shit, so they were giving it back and forth. It was a lot of fun. I love it.
Was a great dynamic. Yeah, it was so good. The two Daves,
and then you have Jeff D. Lowe and all this. And the D stands for Disney. The D stands for Disney Dictator, depending who you talk to. And he's like his own self-tour guide. He had a laminated sheet of like a playlist of every single ride and attraction we were going to hit, color coordinated, no less, ready to rock, as we have a VIP tour guide who's going to give us everything. So it was one of the most incredible dynamics. And then you have the Basement Boys lugging themselves around. And our guy, Ken Jack, who, by the way, has never been to Florida, let alone Disney World, in his entire life. So he just thinks Disney World is free. You have a guy taking you everywhere. You don't wait on lines. And it's like the fakest version of Disney you can get, but also like the most purest.
I know it really is like it. We all said this is going to kind of ruin Disney for us because this is the best way we could possibly do Disney, especially when Dave Portnoy started getting recognized everywhere. He was getting recognized more than Mickey Mouse in that park.
Yep.
Aussie Dave started making calls and being like, can I take him through the back entrance on this park? Can I take him through the back on this park? I was like, this is insane. I'm never going to be able to experience Disney like this again. But again, shout out Dave. And if you're not familiar, I assume most people are familiar with like how the trip came about because we've talked about it a lot on the podcast. If you're like, why did you guys all go to Disney with your boss?
It's a fair question.
Fair question, yes. Dave went to Disney last year with Silvana, his girlfriend, and had the intention of going to Star Wars Land. If you're not familiar, Dave is a Star Wars fan. He really enjoys The Mandalorian, the sequels he loves. So he was like, I'm going to go to Star Wars Land. It's going to be awesome. He got the R2-D2, like Mickey hat and everything, got a custom Star Wars shirt or whatever. And he just missed it entirely. He went on Star Tours, the ride that's been there since the 90s. He thought it was awesome. And then he left. And I was like, how was the Millennium Falcon? He was like, oh, they didn't have a Millennium Falcon in the park. I was like, that's an issue because it's at the entrance to the park. And he realized he just missed out on it. So he decided, I got to go back and I got to bring the nerds with me. So the whole crew was me, Clem, Dave, Ken Jack, Jeff, and Austin. The six of us going through Disney together. And let's get right into it. Let's talk about Disney.
I'm going to address it right now because I know there's the people who think that certain people were left off for certain reasons. That was the original crew that like was just spit out, and Chaps was like in there too. I don't know how Chaps got in there. Chaps is, I think, like as like roasted Star Wars fans in the past. Chaps wasn't in there, and then like so it was like our core crew in 2022, and no one said anything like, "Hey, let's get this person, let's get that person in." And then once
there was like making sure people don't get on the trip.
Yeah, I mean, the more the merrier in my mind. I thought it was an absolute blast. And so if anyone was like the person who got snubbed, it honestly was Chaps because he was in the group. Dave said his name on the rundown. Dave's brain, Chaps' name rattles in Dave's brain, and sometimes it just comes out. Like that time he made him the UFC guy. Chaps, how come you're not the UFC guy, Chaps? It was new. It was like, I guess I can start blogging. He's like, how did you not blog that fight last night? So Chaps is always in the brain, and so by somehow, some way, these were the Disney boys, and we all got blessed with the trip that we're about to go on right now.
And we conquered Disney. So we're going to talk about Disney. We'll spend maybe 20 minutes, half hour on it, and then we'll go on to Mando. I'll put it in the description below. If you're on the podcast feed, I'll put that in the description as well. If you just want to skip to the Mando discussion, I get it. We're going to put out a Disney Boys video, so you could wait for that if you want. So I'll skip to that, or I'll put that so you could skip to it. You hear me? I'm all noodly this morning. I'm
noodly,
jumbling
we're nasally,
words.
We're everything.
Yeah, everything.
There's a lot of stuff sandwiched in our brains.
It is like a devil dog
or Yoda.
We meet up with Aussie Dave in the lobby at 7:40. That was our call time, which
from Jeff
was early. Yeah, that was from Jeff, not from Aussie Dave. That was from Jeff Dictator Lowe. And we drive over to Hollywood Studios. Star Wars was the first stop on our tour. That was the main attraction, basically. You can see I'm wearing my new Star Wars jacket. Thank you, Uncle Dave, for buying me this one as well. It was like a $150 jacket. It's actually like a nice material too. It's heavy jacket. Thank you, Dave, for that one.
I missed all the dressing up. I missed out on that one. I was going to get a helmet, and then we had 3 things to do, and then I missed out on it.
Yeah, it became a quick, like, okay, we might be able to get a lightsaber reservation. Like, let's go. So we walk in through the marketplace. The marketplace in Star Wars Land is the first thing that, like, blew me away because I was like, this is a scene straight out of The Mandalorian. And when we walked in, it was so early that the park was still pretty empty. I think the only people that were allowed in were like the Disney Resorts people at that point. And shops were like opening and the employees are all in their Batu garb. It feels like you're on a different planet because you literally can't see the park once you're in there. And by the way, when we walked into Star Wars Land, we all said, all right, people gave Dave a lot of shit for missing it, but it looks like an exit to the park that would bring you to a parking garage.
Yeah, there's no sign of saying, hey, Star Wars this way. And it's just a big gray
like a
bridge. And you know what it kind of looks like? And I could be wrong, but it looks like the bridge where you go in Roger Rabbit and you go under the bridge and then it leads you to Toontown on the other side. And it might have been that old bridge because I think Toontown was in Hollywood Studios once upon a time. It is so nondescript, and I can completely and it's not like, all right, there's another part of the park over there. It's all dark. It does look like it could be a parking garage or like or just nothing, just a place where people like shoot up if Disney was like New York City, right?
The place where people shoot up in Disney. We walk in through the marketplace, looks awesome. We see they have like a pod racer engine, like roasting a giant porg in the marketplace and stuff. And then we get to the main area where you see the life-size Millennium Falcon. And as lifelong Star Wars fans, lifelong Falcon fans, Clem has called the Falcon one of his favorite characters in Star Wars.
Number 2.
It was chills instantly. It was like, oh my, just walking around it, like looking into the cockpit, everything like that. We get to ride the Falcon right away. That was the first ride of the day, Smuggler's Run. Me and Dave are the pilots. Clem and Austin are the engineers. And then Jeff D. Lowe and Ken Jack are the gunners. The 6 of us in the cockpit, like we were going on a friggin' trench run or something, stealing coaxium from the First Order and everything. Amazing ride. This was like, it's a ride mixed with an experience because you get to walk onto the Falcon, see the Djarik table and everything, mixed with an arcade game because you're literally like controlling it. You have to be hitting buttons, flipping switches like Luke Skywalker's doing in the back, like while Han's piloting. This was amazing. Like, what a way to start the trip for us in the cockpit of the Falcon.
I mean, it's like, hey, the first thing you're going to do is cross off like the biggest bucket list thing that you never thought would be possible in terms of riding in the Millennium Falcon and like doing stuff. Because I've never been like, oh, I'd love to go on the Millennium Falcon because it's in a galaxy far, far away. And it was a long time ago. So God knows what the Falcon looks like these days. And the fact we just got to do that right off the bat as my voice crackles nonstop during this.
Speaking of what the Falcon looks like these days, they're going to need to do a lot of repairs on the Falcon after we were done with it because, oh my God, we were crashing into everything left and right. There was a video Jeff took where you hear Dave like, I'm out of control.
Dave, and I love Dave blaming you. He's like, yeah, you know.
I know he kept blaming me. I was like, I'm trying. Dave was left and right. I was up and down. And I got to say, it was difficult. Like you would pull up, but it wouldn't pull up right away. So you would have to like kind of time it right. That was fun.
Jeff was there's a little button that you use to shoot the lasers, and Jeff was like the Dave video, the finger king from AVN. He's just I'm like, Jeff D. Lowe, he leaves him happy when he's done with them. And I was back there. The engineer is just straight up, just like they ran out of like, well, we don't really have anything good to have the other 2 people be. So like, just let him be the engineer. I hit every time a button started flashing, I go, press the button. Wait a couple minutes.
Happened a lot because we ran into a lot.
Yes, and I will say this: engineer was the MVP of the trip. I'm just gonna say I handle my business better than anyone else handled their business.
I mean, you've seen the movies. If the hyperdrive starts, messing up, you were the one in charge of that. It'd be all right, engineer, get on it.
And there's my favorite guy, my guy R2. He goes in. Fucking changing the hyperdrive, fixing everything up. I would have loved the hyperdrive got disconnected again because that is like such a Star Wars trope.
Someone told me afterwards, like there's an Easter egg that you could unlock Chewie as your co-pilot in that somehow. I was like, oh, that seems cool. We definitely didn't unlock anything because again, we made our way through, but by the skin of our teeth. It was crashing into this, that, the next thing.
The best thing is you just blame the Falcon. You're like, the Falcon is a hunk of junk. You know, it's like it does what it can do.
We go by the costumes, as you can see. I'm wearing this jacket. It's got like TIE Fighter X'd out here. I might not keep it on for the whole podcast because, like I said, it's heavy. And then we go to Uga's Cantina for some fuzzy tauntauns. They've got a Bloody Rancor, their version of a Bloody Mary. I think we tried a Bespin Fizz, or Jeff D. Lowe and Ken Jack tried it. And you and Ken Jack, you got treated like droids. They didn't let you in at first.
We lost you guys. I'm like, oh, we're going in with our group. And they're like, what's the name of your group? I'm like, Jeff Lowe. And I see on her computer, it says Jeff Lowe. I'm like, it's all there. And I'm just like, she's just keeping us. And it was almost felt like we don't serve their kind here. And I'm like, what the fuck's going on? So got a little taste of what it's like to be 3PO and R2. And I did not like it one iota.
And now we're in the cantina at 9 a.m. and we order a round of fuzzy tauntauns, which is a vodka-based drink that makes your face numb. Your face and mouth like tingles, gets a little numb. It's like a citrusy, very sweet drink, which is good for me because I'm a bit of a puss with the drinks. You know, I'm always like, give me the fruitiest, girliest drink possible, and that'll be okay with me. Fun experience in the cantina, though. There's the video of us like clubbing in the cantina. DJ Rex is playing like remixes of the cantina theme. They had some snacks. I don't think we ordered any snacks. We saw the people next to us were ordering like cool drinks as well. All the drinks looked straight out of Star Wars. And the cantina itself, like, it is fully immersive. Even at 9 a.m., it's like, all right, we're in a galaxy far, far away right now. We're in a movie.
Yeah, there's no TV with like Sports Center on. Like, you are in the galaxy hardcore. And if you just like woke up and were there, you'd feel like you were in the movie. So that was
like the waiters, the bartenders coming over being like, remember, these aren't meant for human consumption. Like, that was like, I loved all. I was like, this is awesome. We're in the world. We're in Batu. We build lightsabers. That was the next thing we did. The building lightsaber experience, if you can get a reservation for it, I think is so worth it. And we could only get two.
You're ready to drop $250. Tell them that part too, Bob.
I think it's like $250 a lightsaber or something like that. Dave paid for it. Thank you, Dave, once again. We could only get 2 reservations for the lightsaber thing because it is like a coveted thing. People get it early. So we arranged it where me and Dave built the lightsabers, but I was like, all right, we're going to make this a basement boy lightsaber. And me and Clem picked some of the pieces together. I actually have it here to show on YouTube for everyone.
Yeah, let's go.
Check out this saber that Clem and I built. We built it with the peace and prosperity parts because I was like, come on, we're peace and love guys.
Yes,
we have a switch here, like kind of like the Luke Skywalker Anakin saber. And I accidentally turned that on at baggage claim through the carrying case. And it was just, it makes this noise. And everyone at baggage claim was just like, oh my God, that's hysterical. I was like looking for the off switch through the bag. Amazing experience. They put all the pieces in front of you. You have like a leader that's giving a whole speech that lines up with the John Williams score in the room. The lights are going off. You get to pick your kyber crystal. The kyber crystal you put in your lightsaber actually makes it turn that color. Like if you go to the store, you could buy a different one. I could have bought a different one, put it in there, and it would have made my lightsaber a different color, which I think is so cool. Yep. Dave, we discussed on the podcast weeks ago, maybe months ago, what color he would pick. Since he picked an Imperial costume, just because he thought that was funny, he was like, I got to do red. I just have to do a red saber. He made like the power saber, and he also like got into it with the little kid next to him. I'm sure it'll be in the video. The saber like master builder came over to Dave and this little kid. And he's like, oh, who's the master and who's the apprentice? And the kid right away was like, I'm the master and he's the apprentice. And Dave was like, absolutely not. No, you're 12. I'm 40. No, absolutely not. And they started arguing during it. Really, really cool though. The lightsaber building room, another thing where it's a friggin' experience.
And I've noticed they do this at Star Wars Land and a lot of places at Disney. They could have this with a billion people. It wouldn't be the same thing. So it is very small. They keep the group small, so it does feel so personal. So
the guy talked to all of us. Yeah, like the leader would come over while you're building it and be like, he actually said to me, like, oh, why did you pick the green kyber crystal? And I said, I already have a blue one. I rolled my sleeve up, showed him the tattoo. He was like, good line, man. Good line.
Yeah, well done, sir. He didn't know what he was getting into with that. You have to be careful. You come at Star Wars nerds, they're going to come at you 10 times harder. I have to say this, and I don't want to come across weird. He kind of gave me the vibes of a cult leader, though, which some people would say the Jedi is a cult.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And Aussie Dave, by the way, speaking of like Star Wars nerds, Aussie Dave knew his shit top to bottom on Star Wars and is actually like a host on many events at Star Wars Celebration. Like when they do the DJ is playing before panels and stuff, he's helping hype the crowd up. He was telling us, oh, you see the animatronic, like, it was Lieutenant Beck on Rise of the Resistance. It looks like Admiral Akbar, essentially. He was like, that's done by the voice of Obi-Wan on the Clone Wars. I was like, Aussie Dave knows his shit. Those are the fun facts I need, Aussie Dave. I love that.
We got a Star Wars guy. That was so fucking clutch because this trip was built around Star Wars. And even Jeff was like, I remember when I was at Star Wars Celebration, the DJ was Australian. Because one of those things that just sticks out in your brain. And I showed him the gif of you as Slave Leia, me as Jabba. He's like, oh, yeah, I remember the Slave Leia guy who was on the floor. So a lot of really fun stuff.
Awesome. So we go and meet Mando. Aussie Dave also hooked that up. He was like, I know when Mando's coming out of the room or whatever. He's like, we got 3 to 4 minutes till he's out. Intimidating, Clem. I don't get starstruck often. When you see Mando and Grogu coming out, and the Grogu puppet is literally like looking at you, it's moving around. It's not just like a stuffed animal.
He's cooing.
He's cooing, making noises. Mando said to Dave, "You look nervous," and Dave was like, "I am nervous." just a delight. We got a quick picture with him, and we moved on to Rise of the Resistance.
That was a tough look for Dave, dressed as an Imperial or whatever you want to call it, the First Order. And Dave's like, when I said, Dave, what kind of lightsaber are you going to build? And he's like, I'm a good guy. I like the good guys. I root for them. It's just the outfit played well. And people were saying he looked like he could have been involved with the H-Man. It was a little the South in the Civil War. But it like he pulled it off. I have to say he wore it well. The hat too. We tried to tell him, don't worry, you're just a spy. And
we tried to make him feel better about it.
We said, well, like Luke and Han are wearing the Stormtrooper outfits in A New Hope. Like that's just the way it goes in this. You always just have to dress up like an Imperial, and it always works on them. But then he went full dark side and built a dark lightsaber. So I can't do anything about that.
But then he flipped again, and I think it was on Rise of the Resistance. He was like, I can't wear this on this ride. So he took it off and gave it to Aussie Dave. He's like, I got to go into this as a rebel here.
Aussie Dave is like the mom of the group. He has 18 different bags in his hand, so everyone's shit. And then they just throw him in the car. Another perk of the VIP tour.
Oh, my God. That was being able to buy stuff, throw it in the car, and then just not have to worry about carrying it around. That is almost worth the VIP tour itself. We do Rise of the Resistance now. This is kind of the main attraction at Star Wars Land. It's like a 15, 20-minute ride. And it's not just a ride. Aussie Dave really set it up, too. He goes, it's an experience. That's the other thing about Aussie Dave. 1 second, he'll be talking like we're boys, we're best friends, we've known each other for years. And then he'll be like, all right, let me set the scene. We're between episodes 7 and 8. Or at 8 and 9, Snoke has been killed, so there's a power vacuum building in the galaxy. And he's like literally like putting you into it, gives you chills. You're like, I'm ready to save the galaxy with you, Aussie Dave. Rise of the Resistance is so fucking cool. This is the perfect ride for me as well, because it's not a thrill ride, really. It's more of like I said, the experience. I keep using that word. It's kind of like a cliche, but you go in, you get like a mission, you see a BB-8 animatronic, you see a Rey hologram that looks awesome. Like it looks like a legitimate Star Wars hologram talking to you. It's Daisy Ridley too. It's not like a animatronic or anything like that. She really did the voice acting and the actual acting for it. And then you get brought onto this ship that gets sucked in by the First Order. I'm sure everyone has seen the like 20 stormtrooper lineup that you get put out onto. And then you get like interrogated, where these Disney employees are like looking at you. They're like, rebel scum. Keep your hands and feet inside the ride. And you're like, oh, they're talking to me like I'm a rebel here. And then you get on this little droid cart contraption being driven by an astromech droid, and like the Resistance is trying to save you. It was so fucking cool. Just going through this Imperial, or I guess First Order Star Destroyer, seeing AT-AT factories, seeing the TIE fighters getting shot at. You were like, oh, I got hit. I'm hit. It was, and then there's a drop at the end, which none of us saw coming. And the video I got it on video, our voices in it. Someone was like, you guys sound like a bunch of little schoolgirls in this video. We're like, ah! I loved Rise of the Resistance. And Dave, he liked it, but he was also like, I'm telling you guys, Star Tours later is going to be just as good.
And Aussie Dave goes, are you mad, man? He says, it's not even the same
the
sport.
Video goes, what?
Yeah, he hit us with the mincy. What?
Did you love Rise of the Resistance as much as I did?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I loved it. So I was told it's like a 15-minute ride, and I'm thinking, okay, this is going to be like a long, wild ride. That's something I've never experienced in like any park. And like you said, it's not just 15 minutes of riding. It's like you're going things, but it is very, very cool. So all things considered, it might have been my favorite experience of the entire trip, because there's a lot of stuff I've never been on before. I've been on a lot of stuff, from when I was younger. This was but I think the best one that we got to do, and it like lived up to the hype, because that's like people who aren't even Star Wars fans going into this were like, dude, you are going to go crazy for, and it's like, get there early. I'm like, well, we have a tour guide, thank God. But for people that don't, like, however you have to do Lightning Lane, Genie Plus, pay $5,000 for a VIP tour, get there and enjoy it. It's awesome.
It's worth it. So that was kind of the main event of Star Wars Land. That was the last thing we did in Galaxy's Edge itself. Again, everything about Galaxy's Edge I thought was awesome. I could have spent the whole day in that park just walking in circles because I loved the immersiveness of it.
That was the best part, was when Jeff said, all right, we'll be done with Star Wars Land by like 11 o'clock latest. And you're like, I don't want to be done with by 11 o'clock latest.
I was like, you guys go do Slinky or whatever. I'll be in about 2 the whole day.
2 things I have to say here. One, we fucked up a couple of things.
We fucked up. Yeah.
We didn't have the blue milk. We got the fuzzy tauntaun, and I almost asked the waitress to bring over blue milk just to try it, but I was like, oh, we're gonna probably hit 3 different places, and I figure everything's gonna be serving everything. And I know a lot of people said, I think it's the Ronton wrap. They said get that. It's like a pork kind of wrap.
Ronto wrap, I think.
Ronto wrap, yeah. I'm going back, so I will try both those.
Yeah, you gotta come back to the basement with your reviews.
I'm gonna have to get some blue milk and like smuggle it back on the airplane to get my boy Robbie his blue milk. And it was just one of those things where our brains were so shot, because I'd look at my phone and it would say 9:30. And it felt like I was in like LA and it was really 12:30 New York time. Like you're like checking Twitter here and there and everyone's just getting their day started. I'm like, dude, I've been fucking going hard for like 3 hours now.
I'm buzzed.
Yeah, I'm buzzed. Exactly. And we good work. Got a lot of people. We went into the gift shops. Jeff got the dark saber. Ken Jack got Qui-Gon's lightsaber. I looked in the corner of my eye, and there was an action figure of fucking Lobot, who is my guy when it comes to like the obscure characters. I was like, and there wasn't like, it wasn't like a whole bunch of Lobot figures. It was just one happened to be in the front of it. I was like, that is a sign from the Disney gods, the Force gods, whatever you want to say, that I had to buy a Lobot. It was like I was meant to be there, so I bought that. I thought Dave saw there was a Darth Vader mask like melted post fire that like Kylo talks to, and he's like, oh, that's fire. And I was like, are we about to see Dave, post pen deal Dave just go and buy a fucking Darth Vader mask for $500, $550?
I think it was, yeah. It was, but that would have been an all-time office centerpiece. You walk into Dave's office, that's pretty intimidating. And then everyone knows what I had to buy, right? I mean,
I had to do it.
I might be predictable, but you had to do it to him. Hey,
bad baby, good Robbie, bad baby.
For you, ready? Light up visor. Come on. $60 too. Not too bad.
Babu Frick is like the unofficial mascot in New Jersey in the Star Wars universe. Like, that's
he is
the little Italian guy.
Our tour guide, I think, Aussie Davey, was like, Babu Frick, he's great, right? What do you like about him? I was like, what's not to like? He's a fat Italian guy who fixes droids. Like, he's the best. So that was Star Wars Land as a whole. We did do Star Tours too. Before we get to that, we did Toy Story Land real quick. We did Slinky Coaster, which Dave told us he was going to hate, and he did hate. I had fun on that, but it was the first sign of the day that I started to feel motion sickness. Right afterwards, I was like, oh, maybe I'm not going to be good with roller coasters today. And that was a definitely foreshadowing moment for the day.
Yeah. So Dave was very much, Dave had the disgust in his voice for Slinky Dog that he has for like John Skipper. He has for, just all the enemies of ESPN. I wouldn't be surprised if there's an Ace of Spades bottle with Slinky Dog's name on it. He's like, that motherfucker Slinky Dog. He's like, I went to him. I thought it was going to be this nice little ride, and he's fast. He's sneaky fast. I never knew this. And I'm like, man, Dave's really pissed. And this is how it all played out. Dave's like, I'm not a roller coaster guy. And then you say you're not a roller coaster guy. And I am not a roller coaster guy. But there's a few, like Thunder Mountain, I love. So I was like, I'm kind of a roller coaster guy. And when I came here in my early 20s, I actually like got better with roller coasters. So I'm like, I'll do whatever, guys. Like, we're here. And Dave, I could like, usually what the boss man says goes, right? And that's just kind of goes with Dave. And I think for the most part, it's for the right reasons. Well, Jeff D. Lowe had like, we have to go to Slinky Dog. It was like the most important thing in the world.
We bullied him.
Jeff D. let his impressions down. I said I was down. You bullied him, Rob. It's on video.
I did.
You bullied
It's
the
on
fuck
video.
out of him.
I did bully him because he was like, I've already done Slinky Dog and I know I hate it. But I was like, bro, you haven't done it with the boys, though. We're on a boys' trip. You can't just be the one boy to sit out of this. And then of course, later on in the day, I was like, I'll hold your bags while you go on the ride, guys.
Slinky Dog was a mistake. Looking back now,
I thought it was fun, though. Like, while we were on the ride, I was having a blast. I was like, oh my God, maybe I am going to become a roller coaster guy. I was so wrong about that.
The only reason
it's a ride for kids, to be fair.
Yeah, and then, to be honest, we're not dealing with some crazy. Yeah, it's not the Scream Machine like in the 90s.
No.
That was like this wild thing. But I wouldn't say it threw the vibes off, but it's just we started losing people at that point. You know, there was times where we limited
the Oregon Trail. It was like someone's leg is broken, they might have to stay behind.
We lost a couple of oxen, and then it was like, this is just gonna be the longest trip ever because we can't get there where we want to go because we just don't have enough oxen, and that's where it started to unwind. I guess we had done. We ended up skipping Tower of Terror. I guess if we had done that, maybe that would have kept everything good. But Dave said it himself, even I think before the ride. He was gassed, man. It was a lot of work. That's why, like, just walking around these parks, man, it takes a lot out of you. Even when you get like the shortcuts and all the ways that Aussie Dave took us, we're both hurting right now. You can hear it in our voices. My dogs have been barking for fucking 48 hours straight. That's my biggest takeaway is when I go with my family, I'm not going to have a tour guide and 5 adults who are going to listen. I'm going to be chasing after AJ. You're going to be waiting on longer lines because you're not going to have the tour guide every single day. Disney is a goddamn workout. And when you're a blogger boy, you sure as shit ain't used to walking like acres upon acres every goddamn day, miles upon miles.
No, not in the Florida heat either, especially when we're like, let's put on jackets to look like Star Wars characters. Let's put on the heaviest jackets they sell.
Yeah.
We did Woody's. I don't remember the real name
Midway,
of this. But it was like
I think it's Midway.
Woody's Midway Mania or something like that, which I wanted to do the Buzz Lightyear ride where you shoot and it's like you shoot Zerg targets and stuff.
Yeah.
And Jeff was like, that one stinks. Let's do the new Woody one. And I was like, all right, Jeff, I'll listen to you, Jeff Disney Low. The Woody one.
Buzz is in Magic Kingdom, to be fair. So it's a different.
Different part. All right, fair enough, Jeff. We do this one. He didn't prepare us for it. This is 5 minutes of revving up a lawnmower. You have to shoot by pulling a string back. So we're all like, It probably looked like we were all jerking off in these. Like if you looked at us from the back, we're all like, Really, really fun though. Like this was another one. It's like the Buzz ride where it's just a bunch of targets and you're shooting them. Another one that's 3D though. And I was like looking back, we did this right before, we did Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Rail Car, I think it was called. Super tame ride and actually awesome in terms of like puts you in that Disney mood because you get all the old school Disney characters, the Steamboat Willie characters, the old school looking Disney and Minnie and Mickey, Pluto, Goofy. That one was fun. I would recommend the Runaway. I think it was called Runaway Rail Car.
Yeah, that was a good one. I think it opened 9 days before the entire world shut down too for
in the
COVID.
pandemic. Yeah,
so it was just one of those things that they've probably been waiting for so long. Great kids ride, and just something if you just want to get out of the heat again, it does its job.
And then we do Star Tours. So for Star Tours, one of the best parts is you all sit down and then it says there's a rebel spy on board that the Empire's after, and they put them on screen. For us, it was just Kenjack. There's like a shady looking picture of Kenjack with a hat and glasses. And then the first scene we get is Darth Vader. So we're like, oh, fuck yeah, we're getting original trilogy Star Tours because you get different scenes and stuff. And Vader comes down and he's like, I need that rebel spy. Clem immediately, I think, was so intimidated that he's like, I'll give him up. I heard him next to me. He's like, you can take him.
I ain't getting fucking killed by Darth Vader for Kenjack. No offense. Robbie, you're my guy, too. I don't know if I'm getting killed by Vader for you. If I saw what they did in Andor to what was her name, Bubba Bix, right?
Oh yeah, they tortured the shit out of her.
I don't know what kind of shit that was in the Andor time. So if we're dealing with Vader, I'm not messing with Darth Vader. The boss, you take Portnoy, I lose a living if you lose Portnoy.
Yeah,
Kenjack, we get him, and then we get away. I'll trade Kenjack every time, and I love Kenjack, but it's just the fucking truth.
And Star Tours, if you've never done it, it's the older ride. So you sit in like a pod or a ship, quote unquote ship, and you just kind of watch a screen while the whole pod moves. The 3D glasses, having that on. I loved Star Tours. I thought it was so much fun. We opened with Darth Vader. We went to Hoth. It's like Empire Strikes Back. We're going through the whole snowy system. And then we went straight to Revenge of the Sith, which we were all like, that's not canon. You can't go back in time like that. But all of it was so cool. It made me throw up in my mouth. because of the 3D. I had to like take the 3D glasses off at the end. I told you I couldn't even see Avatar 2 in 3D because I was so afraid of the motion sickness. And then, yeah, I mean, we'll get to Guardians next.
So I think Slinky Dog put you on the road. I think Star Tours jostled you. And that is what got us there. But when the guy throws up in his mouth during the ride, that's how you know he's in a bad spot. And it's not like if you feel like you're going to throw up, it doesn't just go away in a minute or so. You know, like you have to readjust yourself. We were looking for some Dramamine, stuff like that. I remember you were about to go puke and you thought it was the garbage pail, but it was the disposal bin for the 3D glasses. And Austin Dave's like, not in there, Robbie. So that would have been bad. That would have been very bad. But it was just one of those things that like I could see like you just weren't right from that point from that point on. But at the same point, you were thinking you were going to be all right because you're like, oh, I'll just wait it out a bit.
And here's where Jeff D. Lowe tried to kill me. Is I said, I'll wait it out a bit. You guys are all going on Tower of Terror next. You're not a big drop ride guy. So you said, oh, I'll sit this one out with you. I wasn't really looking forward to doing drop rides anyway. I think you and me both sang we're not interested in Tower of Terror. In Jeff's mind was like, oh, then we'll do something else. So he said, the next thing we'll do is now Guardians. I was like, oh, fuck, I can't skip out on Guardians because I know listeners of the podcast will say, how was the Guardians ride? And I can't respond back and say, I was a pussy and I didn't go on it because my tummy hurt. So I was like, all right, I guess we're doing the Guardians ride. We drive over to it. It's in Epcot. Aussie Dave is like, do you need a bag? I said, I need a bag for sure. There will be puke on this ride. I know it. And it's another one where it's a bit of an experience like Rise of the Resistance, but not quite as extravagant. You just get like a Terry Crews video, which was, it was less than great.
It was tough. So like Glenn Close is on as like the head of Xandar or whatever. She's great. Terry Crews just felt weird. It just felt forced.
It felt like Terry Crews.
It felt like Terry.
Like, it takes you out of it a little bit.
Yeah, it was tough. It was a tough scene. And also, I think it takes place between Guardians 1 and 2 because
no, it has to be before 1, I think, because you get adult Groot.
But if before 1, they're not Guardians, right?
Oh, fact. But how do we have fully grown adult Groot in it then? Does it take place like during? I don't know. That was the other thing that we were confused about. We were like, when does this ride take? I almost said, stop the ride. It's not canon.
Because then you're saying, all right, it takes place after 2, but he's not adult. But you say, all right, he's adult Groot after 2. Xandar was wiped off the map by the Mad Titan Thanos, my fucking guy. And it was no Revivals version where he just murders those motherfuckers to get the Power Stone. So, again, you have to you basically have to just be like, Terry Crews is here. Who gives a fuck? None of this shit like follows anything. So
and Jeff just didn't prepare any of us for the fact that this was the most intense roller coaster in the park. And I know that Disney hardos will say, no, it's the space one that gives you the G's or whatever. Some people are saying this was not a crazy roller coaster. My kids did it, blah, blah, blah. This is a crazy roller coaster. Crazy. And I said right before the ride, as long as it doesn't go backwards, I think I'll probably be okay. This thing shoots you backwards like first time you get in it. And you're in space. You see Celestials. We had Burn Baby Burn. People were asking what song we got. There's like 6 separate songs. Burn Baby Burn was a good one. Not the best one, though. They had September by Earth, Wind, and Fire. That's the one we were craving. And I made it about 3/4 of the way through the ride before I just let loose and puked like I was Groot going through the 700 jumps in Guardians 2. That literally is what it felt like to me, is like a simulation of that scene. I thought I was going to pass out. I thought it was going to be like one of those slingshot videos where the person's like, ah! Clem is next to me. He said he was terrified. He didn't sound terrified during the ride, though, because he's just singing Burn Baby Burn. He's like, burn, baby, burn. I hear Dave behind me going, oh, I fucking hate it. Oh, no. Oh, no. It was. And then Jeff D. Lowe in the front was like, how awesome was that greatest ride in Disney? I was throwing up in a garbage bin. My hair's all over the place. Austin lost his hat on the ride, went flying off. I was holding onto my glasses for dear life during the ride. It was hell, but also like I'm glad I did it, even though it did put me through that. I'm like, I am glad I did it because it was insane.
And you'd be counting down the minutes till you went all the way back to Epcot and got to Guardians on the Galaxy, which you probably have to I think pay. There's like Genie Plus now, which gets you like the Lightning Line access, which you can like go faster, but then you have to then pay for a select rides that are really popular. I think Guardians like $15 a head. And we got it. We skipped the entire line. Part of the reason Aussie Dave has to explain everything to us is because we're missing the little queue stuff, the little shows in the queue in the wait line. So it was It was awesome. I hate to say this, Robbie, but when you were puking, I was like, I pray to God when they snap that picture of you, like they do with a lot of roller coasters, you had your face in the bag. It would have been an all-time thing.
Would have been so good.
You could tell you're right there. You could see the bag like in your hand if you look closely at it. And again, I'm pretty good. At least I was in my 20s. I was good with Space Mountain, and I think this is a much newer, updated, evolutionary version of Space Mountain because it's in the dark. There's like little lights that look like stars as you're moving, but it's such a smoother ride. It twists you. And again, you have the Guardians, which is awesome. You have the music, which is awesome. So I looked at the YouTube of the ride. Like people will kind of do what Austin does, right? Where they record themselves. And you can't really, it's faster than I thought it was going to be. So the speed of it all really like sets you off. And there's times where it feels like you're going down forever. And I mean, that's me saying that. I could only imagine how Bob felt as he was going.
Dude, that was my takeaway. I was like, oh, I can never do like Six Flags King Ka, like that one that's just the biggest drop. I was like, oh my God, the drops in this one. But yeah, if you're a roller coaster guy, this is probably the biggest like must that we did at Disney. This was like an intense, awesome, fast roller coaster. Fucked me up bad, but it was fun. We went to Epcot for lunch. I couldn't eat a goddamn thing. I was out for the count for an hour.
Let me also say, I've realized with roller coasters, I have to like act like I'm having fun. Like that's why I was singing, dancing. It was just to like instead of screaming, I'm like, I might as well just act like I'm having fun. So then it feel like the endorphins of fun go in my body to counteract the 8 million things of fear going through my body at the time and be like, when is this going to be over? And I'm already like, fuck, I'm going to have to go back with my kids in 3 weeks because my 4-year-old is going to want to ride the ride. And there's nothing, I'm not a roller coaster guy. Like I said, my wife is a roller coaster girl though. I sit on the bench. She'll give me her purse. So I'm holding her purse on the bench as she goes on the ride. And then she usually comes out and there's like her and like a couple of like little kids who are like, that was the greatest ride ever. And I'm there like a little bitch. Now, if my own flesh and blood do that, it's going to be tough. So to anyone out there, if you're ever on a roller coaster and you're scared, just kind of like act like you're having fun, sing the song.
Fake it till you make it.
Yeah, exactly. But then we went to the restaurant and Bob missed himself a nice little tour of Italy.
Yeah, I was hurting. I literally couldn't eat a thing. I threw up a couple times at the restaurant. And then Dave and Austin had to go back. They had a flight to catch. Barstool Sportsbook now live in Massachusetts. So they're off in Massachusetts. Go now if you're listening in Massachusetts. And we went back. Aussie Dave brought us back to Disney afterwards.
Good pizza, by the way. Very good pizza.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You didn't have any.
Yeah. It was like Napoli, something Napoli?
Neapolitan, they say. It was like very soft. It was like fluff. It was like, I don't know how to say it. It was just like a good. It was light. Good. It was light, but it had a little fluff to it. And they told us that like at all the different countries, so you have Germany, you have Italy, you have France, they fly in people that are, or they bring in people that are from those countries to work they're the chefs, they're the waiters, they're everything. So it gives you that authentic feel of it all. And those guys, the waiter was awesome. We had just like a cool Italian guy. So it was, and Dave said it, I don't know if he said it on the review, but he had reviewed another pizza place, I believe in Hollywood. And I think it got like around the same score as this one. This one was apparently much better. It's like, for me, with Dave reviews, I'm much more about the review than the number. And I'm not just talking about the funny stuff in the review, but the way he describes it, that's how I know how Dave feels about it. Because the number gets it's just on your day. It's just how it all goes. And then, like the Pizza Bianca we had in Arizona, that's like the people say it's the greatest pizza ever. It's got like a 7.3. So the whole scale is like completely fucked after a billion different reviews.
And then when we went back to the park, I just I've listed a bunch of different stuff that we did. This was the stuff that wasn't as interesting for the podcast, but I'll rattle them off and we could, touch on any that we want to. We did Pandora, little Avatar ride. We did the calm Avatar ride while Jeff and Kenchak did the crazy one. We did Pirates of the Caribbean, which I loved. I know that's an old one and it's, people probably make fun of it for being a kiddie ride, but I thought it was really cool. We did Winnie the Pooh, which is a kiddie ride. Aussie Dave was putting the Jeff and Kenchak on, was it Seven Dwarfs? Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs?
It's like a runaway mine train. And I've heard if you're a big guy, your knees will be destroyed by the end of it. And I think the ride is Dinosaur in Animal Kingdom. And I'm like, I'm never doing a ride like this again because I fucked up my whole trip, kind of like with you, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, I've heard it's the same thing with the Seven. I'm like, no way, no how. And do you remember what Aussie Dave told us as he was putting us on?
Like his 2 year. This is what he does for his 2-year-old, right?
This is what I do for the 2-year-olds on the tour when the 6-year-olds want to ride the fun ride.
Yeah,
I was like, come on, Aussie.
Yeah.
And you know what? Robbie said he went on Winnie the Pooh. What did everyone say?
It was a good ride, and everyone on the Twitter replies were like, "Hey, that's pretty fun." Someone on the Twitter replies cracked me up, and they were like, "That's like one dab of acid away from like a horrible trip."
Oh, you get to the Humphalumps and Woozles, man. I'm telling you, there ain't nothing scarier than Humphalumps and Woozles in all 4 of the Disney parks combined, man. I'm a big Pooh Bear guy.
We did Thunder Mountain, which I loved. As far as straight up roller coasters go, this was my favorite. I thought it was so much fun. We had the whole cart clapping it up and everything. And it was my first one where it was a bounce back. Everyone was like, I think you could do this one. It's not too bad. There's no loops, doesn't go too fast. It's just like a quick, fun roller coaster. Everyone was right. I loved it.
I can't tell you how many times I've had people try to sell me on going on roller coasters. I'm like, guys, I'm just not a roller coaster guy. I'm not going to do it. This ride was like, I remember this was the ride when I was younger and I was never did any roller coasters of any sorts. Usually then it just became no loop-de-loops, but I did Thunder Mountain for the first time. And I was like, that was so much fun. I understand the appeal of roller coasters now. I was like, I need to get Bob back to this spot if he can get here. So I said, listen, man, I'm not going to make you do it, but I'm just telling you, it's really not bad. And it's just, and I said it afterwards, it's just a good vibe ride. And Jeff was all about clapping it up and just kind of getting going. We had girls behind us. We're like, these guys are fun. So they're clapping up. We had people in front of us clapping it up. And I've done it in the past where I went with 4 of my friends, my wife and I, and we were singing, thunder. And our whole train started singing it. We're singing it the whole ride. We get pulled back into the station to get off. And the people at the waiting line were then singing it. And when people would say thunder, the person in charge of the lights at Disney was raising them up and down. So it became a thing. And then they would go on the ride doing thunder. And we like started a mini cult for a day. Because I'm telling you, man, out of every ride in all those parks, I will go to my grave saying Thunder Mountain has the best vibes of all of them. And smile on your face. You turned around like 3 different times and you gave it the thumbs up. You're like, it's good. It's good. I'm happy. And I was like, yes, like we got Robbie Fox back.
I was going hands up and everything. I was going, oh, that was a blast. And then that was pretty much it for the rides. I tried the orange swirl ice cream. You guys tried the Dole Whip. Everyone was loving that. Delicious stuff. Went to dinner, got some fireworks in. And that was Disney. It was a super fun day. Clem and I then did Universal the next day. We became the Universal Boys, which was less talked about than the Disney Boys, slightly. You know?
Didn't trend as much.
We got to see Springfield, though. Springfield and Krusty Land, which you wanted to see, obviously. And I was, of course, down to see that as well. Way better than expected. I feel like some people downplayed it for us. And they were like, oh, there's only a couple things. Like, you'll be in and out in a second. We were walking around like, oh, look at that. It's the Quickie Mart. Oh, look, it's Moe's. We went into Moe's. You got to try a Duff beer. Like, I thought it was really cool. We met up with Basement Boy Sam Lauderdale. Shout out Basement Boy of the Week, Sam Lauderdale. Got to hang with him for a couple hours, ride a couple fun rides with him. We did the old ET ride from 1990. I looked up the old Jurassic Park water ride was 1996, so 3 years after the first movie. Both of those, both classics, I thought, that stand the test of time. Like, obviously, old rides, when you see the animatronics, they're not as updated as the crazy $950,000 Avatar animatronics in Disney. But so much fun still. Like, I had a blast with those. And then we took the train to the Harry Potter part of the park. I'm not the biggest Harry Potter guy. You're not a big Harry Potter guy either. The train ride over there was one of my favorite parts. Like, they have the screen on the window, so it looks like you're going into Hogwarts. They have like Dementors, the worst part of prison, come after you, and Harry Potter saves you. You see it like through chilled glass and stuff. So cool. And then we went and looked through a bunch of the Marvel gift shops as well in Universal. We didn't get anything because I think we all had no space left in our luggage. But just looking through those gift shops was so much fun.
Yeah, they had some pretty cool things, and they had a lot of X-Men stuff because they had X-Men and all these Marvel guys back in the day before the MCU was born. And the way it works is Disney cannot, the way the agreement was agreed to is they had exclusive rights to Universal east of the Mississippi. So they can now just do whatever they want. Now, if they edit any of that stuff, they change it, that deal is null and void, and then Disney can then build, which would probably like their own theme park at this point for the MCU. They have stuff in Cali because that's west of the Mississippi. So they have the Avengers. What is it? It's like the
Avengers Campus.
Avengers Campus, yeah.
Yeah.
They have like Spider-Man doing flips and shit like that. So that was very cool to see. Like I said, in the gift shops, there was like an old comic book. I wish I bought it, but they didn't have it for sale. But it was like it was the first X-Men that I fell in love with, the Jim Lee, right? With
that Magneto cover.
Yeah, I love that thing, but they didn't have the comic book for sale. But they had so many toys, shit like that. Springfield was awesome. Like I was expecting it was going to need like a fresh layer of paint but like when I was at Moe's, I felt like I was in a cartoon. It was fucking cool. Same with Quickie Mart. Got a picture with Jebediah Springfield. Saw Krusty Burger, the Frying Dutchman sign. Like Simpsons. I said this to you on like an Instagram story. The Simpsons seasons 1 through 10 or whatever it is, when they're just hammering out home run after home run, is my favorite piece of content in the history of all content. It is that kind of humor, what those guys were doing back in the day. There's nothing that even approaches it, to be honest with you. So I absolutely love it. So yeah, I could have, that was to me probably what Star Wars Land was to you. Like I was just
really,
the entire time. Yeah, I just couldn't believe it.
And I thought the ride was great. Like a lot of people told me, especially afterwards when I said I did the ride, everyone was like, that was the ride that made me more nauseous than any ride in history. I can't believe you did that. The Simpsons ride is very similar to Star Tours, but instead of looking at a screen and moving, it's like you're in a complete dome. Everything around you is a screen. So you look down, it's a screen. You look up, it's a screen. And it's so immersive, almost, again, feels video game-ish. Like the 3D animation is very video game-ish. And Sideshow Bob is after you. So you're trying to escape Krusty Land, get back to Springfield. There's like a giant Maggie in it and everything. Really, really fun ride. I loved that one.
Yeah, it was a really fun ride. And it had a lot of the humor and stuff when you're waiting, the pre-show.
Yeah, actually, good jokes in it too. I think Marge at one point was like, "Oh no, he's gonna kill the kids," and Homer was like, "Thank God."
yeah. This keeps getting better.
Yeah,
Homer's getting like hit. Homer's just getting his ass kicked. He's like, I lost my wallet though. Like that's the stuff he's worried about. There's so many little subtle nods, and it exceeded expectations. Which usually you go in with such a high expectation of everything, you get let down. This was completely the opposite. And again, if you're not a huge Simpsons fan, I would be like, yeah, I don't care. But that's the good thing about Universal. You can feel like you're in Jurassic Park. You can feel like you're in Hogwarts. You can feel like you're in Springfield. And I know they're coming out with a Mario Land in a couple of years or in a year or two. And that's going to be, with the kids, they are obsessed with Mario. That's why I'm telling you,
Happy Mario Day.
Happy Mario Day. March 10th. Buy your Nintendo stock now. I think it's gone down 1 full point since I bought it. So Clem stock tips are not doing very well right now.
Yeah, I'm gonna go get some Nintendo while they're down. All right, so that was Disney, that was Universal. You'll see the full video soon, I'm sure. The Disney Boys video. You'll see it in stool scenes, and then you'll see a full Disney Boys, recap and everything like that. And I'm so excited for the videos to come out, for people to see how funny the trip was, how much fun we had in general. And yeah, thanks for everyone retweeting all this stuff, because our Twitters were all going on fire this weekend. It's Friday now. This week. I'm all jumbled. We're noodly, guys.
This fake ass weekend, nothing's real right now. And now we're Mario Day. That's how it all is.
Now, yeah, happy Mario Day, everyone. All right, we're gonna get into the Mandalorian, Chapter 18, the Mines of Mandalore. But first, let's tell everyone about HelloFresh, one of our favorite sponsors. And HelloFresh is so good. When I get back home to my HelloFresh meals, oh my God, there's nothing like that. Make mealtime easy with these delicious recipes made with fresh, wholesome ingredients delivered straight to your door. There's no lines, no hassle, just great tasting meals that you could whip up and enjoy in the comfort of your own home. With the cost of groceries going up and up, now's the perfect time to get started with HelloFresh. It's cheaper than grocery shopping and 25% less expensive than takeout. I mean, if you go with HelloFresh and you're saving 25% on every meal, that adds up, and you might be able to pay for a VIP tour guide by the end of the year, Depends on how much you're paying on takeout. If you were me and Trent back in the day, we were spending way too much on takeout. Now with HelloFresh, it's the best. They have 40 weekly recipes to choose from for all meal occasions, lifestyles, and preferences. Take your pick from meals like soy glazed salmon. Ooh, that sounds good. Some rice on the side of that, or mushroom and chive risotto. That sounds great as well. HelloFresh makes it easy to eat what you love, so customize your select meals, adds proteins or sides, add a protein to a veggie dish if you want, and you could even upgrade for organic chicken or organic ground beef on select meals. If I eat something organic, I just feel healthy, even if I'm covering it in hot sauce that's unhealthy or anything like that. I'm like, it's organic. It's got to be healthy, right?
It raises the floor of the healthiness up to a satisfactory level. Yeah, 100%.
I love this stuff. Clem loves it. The official meal of the basement, we always say, is that cheesy chicken with the carrots on the side. So good. Go to HelloFresh.com/Fox60 and use code Fox60 for 60% off plus free shipping. So Fox60, FOX60 at HelloFresh.com/Fox60. Go get yourself 60% off HelloFresh. Great meals.
You go eat good. That was the one thing I didn't really eat or snack enough like I wanted to at all the parks. It just wasn't enough time. But again, like I kept being like, I'm gonna be back here in a few weeks, so I'll have to do it right when I do it. Then it was a breakneck pace. Jeff D'Lo had us at a grueling pace if it was the Oregon Trail. So go home, sit back, relax, and enjoy your HelloFresh.
I also felt bad for Jeff. He was hyping up two things all weekend. He wanted to somehow get into the Tron ride, and he wanted to get like Goofy's sour balls. That was like his favorite candy is the Goofy's balls. And they don't make those anymore. And he couldn't get into the Tron ride. I was like, oh, poor Jeff Disney Low. But you know what? I think he had a good time as well. He had never done Rise of the Resistance either. Like as a Disney guy, I don't think it was open when he last went. So he was loving life.
Dude, very slept on fact of all this is that we did 4 parks in one day. We did all 4 parks.
Yeah.
I never in a million years thought I could ever do that. Didn't even know it was possible. And we barely were able to do it with a tour guide. So awesome. All around.
And just one last note on Disney, since you just mentioned the 4 parks. At Animal Kingdom, I had to take a shit, and VIP tour guide Aussie Dave told me, oh, don't worry, all the doors in here like swing both ways and have locks on them just in case the animals escape. It's like, well, I wasn't worried about taking this shit until you said that. Until you said that Disney can turn into Jurassic Park at any moment.
Yep. Thanks for that, Aussie.
So that made me worried. That was the most worried I've ever been while taking a shit. Sorry if I grossed anyone out on the podcast. Hope nobody was eating and listening to the podcast. All right, now let's get into the Mandalorian Chapter 18, The Mines of Mandalore. I didn't get to watch this episode till we got back from Disney. You watched it before we went to Disney because we were all going to wake up early, and then I just wound up not being able to do it. If you watched the bracket, we just did the most addicting things that aren't drugs on that show, and my number one vote was snoozing the alarm. I just can't help it. I'm addicted, Clem.
Robbie's a sleep guy. He's a snooze guy. I have that beaten out of me by kids. If I never was one, but any kind of like sleeping late, I am up at 4:30 every morning, whether kids are there or not. So I was up. We did pose to Dave if he wanted to wake up early and watch The Mandalorian. I think Dave was like, I think I'm good because we had a 7:40 start time at Disney, which Aussie Dave multiple times was like, just a wild move, lads, just a wild move. So I woke up, watched it immediately just in case anything major happened. And I don't want to get it spoiled on Twitter or just like in casual conversation and anything. I thought everyone else was going to watch it. But we watched, we enjoyed, and we are ready to rock and roll about it.
It was so goddamn good. We open on Tatooine, back to fucking Tatooine, of course, but we only spend a couple minutes there. There's a race happening. We see like a race in the streets. Doesn't really look like a pod race. It looks more like a drag race. And Pelimoto mentions it's like Bunta Week, which if you recall back, the Phantom Menace, that pod race was the Bunta Eve Classic. So a little Bunta shout out there. And she is hustling a Rodian with some Jawas. It seems like the Jawas are taking parts off of the Rodian ship and then putting them back on repainted. And she's like, yep, I repaired your ship for you. They got a little side hustle on their resume there. And she sells Mando R5, which she hypes up. She hypes him up as the greatest droid ever. And he just does R5 shit where he starts breaking right away. And they're off to Mandalore.
So I have to admit, I said it last episode, I've said it a lot, I'm not a Pelimoto guy. She was not as bad this episode, very tolerable. I don't know if it's just because we went in and out or I'm just used to her, but I did not have any beef with Pelimoto the entire time. Lots of Star Wars language. She's dropping a lot of, like scruffy nerve herder level creature references and stuff like that. And our boy Baby Yo can fucking jump. He can jump, do backflips and shit. I don't know what he was like an NBA Jam character.
I forget who it was. Someone had a tweet where they were like, I love that they're just throwing that fucking puppet around at this point. Like when he jumps, you could tell literally someone's behind the camera like, like they're not doing crazy CGI on. If it is CGI, they're doing it minimally to where it still looks like a puppet. It still looks practical. And that's part of the thing we love so much about Baby Yoda and this show in general is the stress on practical effects that Favreau and Filoni have both implemented. So Mando and Grogu are off to Mandalore. They want to check it out because of last week. They want to see if the surface is breathable and whatnot. And R5 is with them. They kind of redo the back of the ship so R5 can fit in the back where Baby Yoda was. Baby Yoda's in the cockpit with Mando. And on the way over, Mando keeps teaching him about you got to know your way to navigate. if you're going to be a Mandalorian, you got to know your way around the galaxy. You got to know every little nook and cranny, every corner. Starts telling him this is this planet, this is that planet. And I love that was shown, because already in this episode, we could see that Baby Yoda's getting a little smarter and he's being able to do a little bit more on his own. And it's not just out of nowhere. It's like, all right, Mando's talking to him. He's trying to teach him. He's trying to train him. And with their timelines, who knows? Maybe it's been 10 fucking years since they've been together,
Our boy's leveling up right now. I'm very proud of it. And now it makes a little more sense now that we know the Favreau timeline and everything. He's been around for a little while. So he's starting to put things together. And I just can't believe we're going back to Mandalore already. It's kind of like I
was shocked. I thought that was going to be way late in the season.
Yep. And I obviously about it going into it because you could see it, but it's in the trailers and stuff. But this is something that I am happy about with the Mandalorian. Like I thought this whole season was going to be about him getting Grogu back. Nope, they just took care of that in the Book of Boba Fett. You didn't watch the Book of Boba Fett? That's your problem. No one else is. Like,
go watch.
That's just how they're doing it. They're saying we're going fucking pedal to the metal and hitting the hyperdrive. So I was shocked we're going, but I was like, again, someone that hasn't watched the cartoons, any of that stuff, I was like, this should be cool, I guess. I don't know anything about Mandalore. I barely know about Mandalorian still.
And it did look really cool. We talked in our Last of Us recap about how cool the city looked when it was like at post-bombing and you could see the craters in the ground and everything was overgrown. It's a different vibe with Mandalore. It's not as beautiful and green. It's just the shards of, they said it was crystallized. The surface was crystallized by the Empire's lasers and stuff. And you see where they bombed and stuff. And it's a crazy visual. We also mentioned last week, we loved that R5 was finally getting some shine here. And he does get shine. Mando sends him out for the first samples on the planet because he doesn't know if the air is breathable yet. And then he sees a red dot show up on the map, like you're playing Call of Duty and you have a UAV. And Mando's like, all right, I guess I got to go check it out. He gets ambushed by these creatures in a cave. They're not Wookiees. They're not, I don't know how to describe them, but they're just these hairy cave creatures. And he kills them with the Darksaber, but he struggles. As we saw in the Book of Boba Fett, he's still getting used to using a Darksaber. He's still getting used to the weight of that thing. And in my headcanon, I think, do Jedis, I might have mentioned this before in the show, maybe when we did Book of Boba Fett recaps, do Jedis have an easier time swinging around lightsabers because they're subtly using the Force and they're really like fucking heavy things like that?
That would make a lot of sense, right? And you kind of letting the Force take it for you, especially if the crystal side. Yeah, you know what? I'm in your headcanon with you. Your headcanon is not my headcanon. So we get a couple more people listening, it just becomes canon at some point, right? So it's just like how R5 became it was a Jedi droid, according to like that one person who made the book or whatever.
Which someone sent me too. Apparently, one of the books in Disney canon mentions that, like in Disney canon, but in Disney canon, it's in a book where stories are meant to be misleading.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
So, I mean, you can't make it more confusing. I know. What are we talking about?
Let me tell you what R5 is. He's not a Jedi. He's a bitch boy. He's a fucking little scaredy cat, man. It's like, dude, you're a droid. You have a job. Do your goddamn job. It's like Bill Belichick. Do your job. And R5 is like, he needs you to check out the atmosphere. That's all he's asking you to do. And you're fucking
I didn't see this coming, Clem. I thought you were, I know you're such an R2 guy. I thought maybe all Astro MX, but no, you're just an R2. I mean, you're blue and white, not red and white.
Yeah, the GOAT is the GOAT. And this guy popped his lid at his biggest moment of his life, whether or not it was Force sensitive versions. The guy is kind of, I don't want to say this. I thought R5 was going to become my guy, but I'm just sitting there like, come on, man. Like what if little sweet baby Yo doesn't know if he can breathe on the planet or not? Because this guy doesn't want to go out and do the one job he was purchased for. So I was just very upset.
You know what though? That's on Pelimoto.
Man, Pelimoto.
She hyped him up. She kind of, like you're close enough with Mando and Grogu at this point, though, where you shouldn't be swindling them. They're your friends.
Yeah, well, that's who Pelimoto is. It's one of the many reasons I'm not a very big fan of her. And like you said,
I don't like when she speaks Jawa. By the way, that makes me uncomfortable. When I see a human speaking Jawa, I'm like, that doesn't look right.
That feels weird. And we know she loves
any human, not just her.
What are the green guys called? The
Rodians.
Rodians. We know she likes to get down with Rodians too.
Yeah. So, yeah. Pelimoto gets crazy.
I think the Pelimoto thing when we did the Udini, like the Jawa O face, I think that was during a Pelimoto conversation and all that stuff. So yeah, R5, I'm not a fan of. We're in fucking Last of Us world where everything's scary. And then this guy Mando gets attacked. Granted, ambush. Pop. Mando gets ambushed by these creatures. And it's too close for the laser beam. He stinks with the Darksaber. This was your time to use the flamethrower, you goddamn asshole. And he didn't use the flamethrower. I was screaming,
right.
Use the flamethrower. I think they had like fur, right? Fur lights on fire. These guys are cooked, literally and figuratively cooked. Use the goddamn flamethrower. It just drives me fucking insane that they don't know how to use the flamethrower.
That was the moment.
That was the moment.
That was the moment he could have used it.
It's like when the guy always says, like, was she giving me the clue? Oh shit, that was the clue, wasn't it? Like, Mando's gonna think about it the next day, like, oh, that was when you used a flamethrower.
Yeah. So he realizes the air is okay to breathe. He's like, Bo-Katan was right. The air is okay to breathe here. This is crazy. He starts making his way down to the mines, and it looks so cool down there. Like, the full damage that's been done is there, but it almost still looks like a coliseum or something, like an ancient relic. And the way he's like just jetpacking down is really cool. And of course, Grogu is missing his dad, so he just follows along, which is going to come in handy later when a giant fucking robot snatches Mando and Grogu has to friggin' save the day. He gets brought back to that like alien droid guy's lair, Mando. This alien droid villain guy, one of the creepiest and best villain designs we've seen in Star Wars in a while, I think.
I thought that was it was a very cool design. I thought the way it was growing and then it would like go leave and it would still always be a presence. I thought it was very cool. I thought it was a spider at first. I'm like, my guy Bob's freaking the fuck out.
Qualities, right, almost like the Geonosian, like from Attack of the Clones, when they're on that big Coliseum and that you see the droid factory and stuff. Vibes of that, vibes of Grievous a little bit with the alien droid. Like, I was gonna say that because he had the alien eye droid body, and then even later on when Bo-Katan comes back, skipping ahead a little bit, but when his head comes off, you think he's dead, and his head just crawls around like a spider. Like, holy crap! If I was thinking of my nephew right away, I was like, that might creep him out a little bit, creep me out a little bit.
Oh yeah, I'm honestly shocked that you weren't more creeped out because that was my biggest. But I guess if I saw it again, maybe it was a very dark episode too. I feel so
very dark,
and it was like, and I'm not gonna go like Battle of Winterfell dark and go on my rant, but it's like I just need to see. I need to be able to see the episodes. I don't know if it's because I'm old or it's because the TV is dark because I'm in a place like Disney. I just give me episodes where I could see everything because I couldn't tell if it was a spider. I didn't know what was going on, which was also crazy that Disney Plus wasn't just on all the TVs. I thought you have access to the whole Disney Plus catalog because then you go, you're like, all right, we'll get Disney Plus because it was so great watching The Mandalorian today, right?
Exactly. And they had a channel on TV that was like a sampler, which was like you could press it and it was just random like content at all. I put it on. It was the National Geographic or National Treasure TV show they do. I was just like, damn, I wanted to watch Mando, but I tried to link my phone to it and everything. I couldn't even do that. It was messing up the Wi-Fi, so I just wound up watching Mando on my computer. But Grogu follows Mando into this cave. Mando's like, go get Bo-Katan, send her here. And immediately, I'm like, can Grogu fucking do that? Is he old enough? Like, can he drive a car? Like,
his name is Baby Yoda. He's a baby. Yeah, bad baby.
Literally as a baby, or if you want to call him like the season 1 name, the child. This is the guy that you're gonna be like getting that starship and go in space. But on his way out, he bodies a cave alien. One of those like jumps in front of him. This was the scene we saw in the trailer, and it's so great the way he just like uses the Force, pushes him away. And the face he makes when he comes out of that cave with his eyes squinted a little bit, he's like really focusing. And a note, he didn't have to go to sleep right away, so he's getting a little stronger.
That's great point. I didn't even put that together. He's getting stronger. I feel like this episode in particular, he's ratcheting up the cuteness. He knows that cuteness is his like greatest asset he has because everyone just goes, "Oh, whatever you need, little baby."
Basically, that's how he got Bo-Katan because he goes in the ship with R5. They fly in, and as the ship flies in, Bo goes, "Let's get rid of him once and for all." And I'm like, whoa, what the fuck? You're going to kill this guy now? And she walks up to him. She's like, I told you never to come back here, blah, 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 blah. And realizes it's the baby. And she's like, oh, look at the fucking baby. All right. Anything for Grogu. And she does. So I was mad at her for saying, let's get rid of him once and for all. But the fact that she goes back and she brings Grogu and R5 in her ship and everything and truly makes an effort to save the Mandalorian in multiple instances and moments where she didn't have to. Bo-Katan got major points for me in this episode. I'm like, you might be a hypocrite, but if you're saving my guy's life, I'll let you be a hypocrite.
My note was Bo is fucking shit up right now. She was fucking shit up. And again, how much of that is because Baby Yo like melted her heart? Babbling, sputtering, and cooing were 3 different things he was doing. They're throwing those words out there. You know he's hamming it up. And then the big black eyes are just getting nice and wide like Puss in Boots. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, you got me. And she got the Darksaber.
And she uses it way better than Mando. Let's be honest.
Better.
I mean, she knows how to use that thing. You could see why she wants it so bad. She's like, if I had this, I could rule the fucking galaxy. Slicing up cave monsters left and right did not look heavy for her. She was just slicing it, spinning it, doing all the tricks with it. She mentions to Grogu that her family used to rule. Little like subtle shout out to Satine and all that, and her father, I guess, who I don't think we saw her father in the Clone Wars. If I think back, I think he was already passed on. But they did talk about the father a little bit in this one. Slaughters those cave people, and then she goes and she does save Mando. Like I said, kills the bug or droid guy, or so you thought. And then his eye like opens again, and it's like almost like a horror movie where it's like, oh, but there's one more monster in the end. And then they wind up getting to kill him. I forget how they smash the head. They do it some cool way though.
Yeah, and this sick fuck is like draining Mando's blood out of him or something.
Yeah,
it was some
he had him in
gnarly
like
shit.
a cooker almost. He was in like a cage that was spinning and stuff. Yeah, Mando. Listen, it's not great that he got taken in, but he got taken in by an alien in a huge mech suit. And we've talked about our favorite heroes in the past. One of my favorite heroes of all time is Indiana Jones. One of your favorites, John McClane. Mm-hmm. Two guys that get their ass kicked a lot. And it's one of the most likable qualities of a protagonist. It's not just a Mary Sue, as they call it, which I guess people use that for like a female character, but it's not a perfect character. He struggles.
We love him for his flaws more than anything else, as crazy as it sounds, because the boy's been catching L's nonstop, basically.
Yeah.
When you really take a step back and you're like, he's kind of fucked up a lot of things, and he's gotten bailed out a few times, and we love him. We definitely love him.
Yeah.
And he's just so, and after his blood is drained out of him, he's so fucking tired. I'm telling you, that was me when Jeff's like, all right, we got to get to Thunder Mountain by 9 p.m. And we had to go like across half the park. And I'm like, ugh, feet are hurting, like knees are hurting, just exhausted from head to toe. That was our boy, man. You could hear it in Pedro's voice. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's my back and neck for me. It's not my feet and knees as much. It's my back and my neck and my shoulders are all like from the whiplash. I think it's all from Guardians, from those 700 jumps we did in 2 seconds. Bo gives Din some pog soup and gives some history of the planet. She talks again about, her family, Mandalore, everything about the way it used to be, and the living waters again. She's like, seriously, with the fucking living waters, like, you really think that there's something special down there? Like, I'll bring you down there if you really want to go down there. I'll bring you down there. So they jetpack down. Grogu's in his little ball, his little stroller. The way he floats down with them is great as well. It reminded me of R2 in the prequels when they were like, we need to have R2 like do more. So they were like, he had jets on all the whole time. And then they go to the living waters. Mando starts taking his armor off, and there's a mention of like the Mythosaur cave this used to be. And I was like, oh, Mythosaur cave. I bet we might see a Mythosaur by the end of season 4. Imagine they build for that. Season 4, I was thinking, Clem. I was thinking they're teasing Mythosaurs in season 3. Maybe in 2 years from now, we'll see one. Then Mando goes into the waters. He gets pulled down. He starts saying almost like a prayer, like the Mandalorian version of a prayer, saying the creed stuff. He gets pulled under, which I saw some debate on whether or not he got pulled under or just fell in. I'm pretty sure he got pulled under, guys. I don't think he just fall like 50 feet underwater out of nowhere. Bo goes after him with the jetpack, which another moment where I was like, all right, in that moment, like, I don't think Mando had the Darksaber on his body, did he? If he didn't, Bo-Katan could have just been like, oh, he's dead. Darksaber's mine now. Sick. Like, Bo-Katan going into the water, I was like, all right, for this week, she's not getting any angry rants from me. She is good by me for this week, and she sees, Clem, the eye of an alive mythosaur. The mythosaur is a factosaur. It exists. It's real, and it's way, 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 way bigger than I ever thought it could be.
There was talk of like riding one of them or something like that. I'm like, how do you even ride that thing? You look like an ant on it, basically.
Yeah, I don't know if you could ride that thing. I mean, Bo-Katan was the size of its like eye, literally.
Yeah, it was
like a celestial.
yeah, exactly. Seeing the jetpack work underwater too, I was like, all right. Like, I always forget they have jetpacks. I also was like, yo, if Mando gets captured by a creature, loses the Darksaber to the creature, and then you pick up the Darksaber, you technically should be the owner of the Darksaber, because it's like, if you don't take care of your stuff, you lose it. That's fucking how we go. That's how we go in this household. When Santa, like, you put that somewhere your brother can't reach, because if he takes it, I can't get it back from him. Kind of a thing.
And a galaxy far, far away too with the Darksaber, like there's no commanding board over the Darksaber. There's nobody being like, well, you didn't follow the rules. The Darksaber is like the 24/7 hardcore title. Like at any point, that thing could change hands. It might not even be via a match or pinfall. Someone might just steal it, and then they will say, screw it, they're a champ. That's how the Darksaber works. Do you think Mando will keep the Darksaber the entire season or lose it to somebody?
I'm gonna say he's gonna lose by like the end of next episode. The way that they go, like I feel like we're in fucking like I was gonna say like, oh, by the end of season 4 maybe, right? And it's like no, everything here. And I appreciate that they're just like getting shit done. They'll think of other things we'll look forward to, and then that shit will get done sooner than we thought. And it's just the pace of it makes it so much more fun.
Another question about the living waters. We heard a lot about. There's nothing special about the living waters. There's nothing crazy. There's only myths. Do you think that was all leading to the mythosaur, which I would think is fine? Like that was an awesome moment and reveal. Or do you think there's anything about those waters that can give you the Force?
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
I might be getting too ambitious with that, and maybe that's not even great for Mando. Maybe Mando needs to remain just the bounty hunter, and I'd be completely fine with him never getting the Force. Just the way they talked about it, and they talked about there's nothing special about that. There's nothing special about that. I was thinking maybe there's a mythosaur down there, or maybe he's going to go down there and start to get inklings of, feeling the Force. Even if it's not crazy power, maybe he'll be able to move something with his mind, and we'll be like, oh shit, he's got some metachlorians in that blood.
I'm very much fine if they just keep it completely separate, and that's just their little religious fanatic order. Which, by the way, for everyone saying all these guys are just from religious fanatics, their mythical creature pulling the guy who broke the creed underwater, potentially to his watery tomb. They kind of it's like there's something more here. There's something more. So like that's a big W for the armorer and her fucking crew of like their little cult they had going on. So I will give them that much. It also is just so ridiculous as just saying these words, walking in the water. Also, it kind of like this magical lake and all this stuff. Very cool. The fact that it's like we're going to go to the Civic Center. I felt like it was like the Mid-Hudson Civic Center. I'm like, what are we fucking talking? Let's get a better name here. Just that one, and that's a very regional thing. The Mid-Hudson Civic Center is just a random thing like Poughkeepsie, I think. It just kind of took me out. I was like, what the fuck are we talking? That's where you see like old wrestling shows and shit like that.
I was gonna say Civic Center is definitely like a wrestling venue for sure.
Yes, exactly.
Another word that got mentioned in this episode that if you watched our Andor reviews, we love the pronunciation of this one. Bo-Katan said schedule. Get my scheduling.
Yes. Yeah.
I like that. I was like, oh yeah, get that C out of that word in the Star Wars universe.
We are not big fans of the schedule. We say bad. Usually, it's bad people are the schedule.
Well, yeah, true.
But
Bo-Katan, she rides the fence.
Bo was right. We do know Bo was right about Mandalore, right? So we have to at least admit that, right, Robbie? Bo was right.
Yeah. So she was half right. She was right about the air being able to breathe, but she was wrong about the lakes.
The lakes. That's a fair point. I won't argue that at all. And then the other thing was our boy Heavy Spoilers pointed this out in his video. Mando's like, I need this for spelunking. And she's like, spelunking? He's like, where are you going to spelunk? He's like, oh, spelunking. And a little callback from The Dark Knight. It's very much, if you watch his thing, it kind of goes like one-on-one with that, which I still am not sure what spelunking is all these years later. And I've heard it a million different times.
I don't know either. And you told me that. I actually haven't watched the Heavy Spoilers breakdown yet. I definitely will, but I haven't seen it yet. You told me that. And I thought to myself, and this is one of the first moments in my life where I started to feel old. I went, holy shit, it's a 15-year-old reference.
Yeah, that's an oh no. Oh.
Can you believe that? Like, if this was 1990, that is a reference to 1975.
Oh my God.
Like, how much does that fuck you up?
Not good. Not good. I mean, when like shit that I when In the Club turned 20, that fucked me up pretty good.
I feel like I just drained the life out of you like Mando right there. Took all the blood out of you.
That's exactly how he sounded.
All right, that was the Disney Boys recap. That was the Mandalorian Chapter 18 Mines of Mandalore recap. If you're listening on the podcast feed, I'll throw it right over to the Last of Us recap with John Henry Feidelberg. And next week, it's going to have its own podcast just for the finale, and I'll separate that. And then from here on out, it'll be all Mando recaps. Do we have a hashtag we want the people to use?
I do. Hashtag thank you, Bo-Katan.
Okay. All right. For this week, she deserves that.
I was like, was Bob gonna fight this one? But it's kind of like
No.
it kind of sounds like thank you, Big Cat, thank you, Bo-Katan, thank you, Bo-Cat. You know, so
no, this week I'm gonna allow that. She saved our guy. She made sure Grogu arrived safe and everything. I mean, she probably could have just tried to kill Grogu. It would have been a savage move, but you know, it's Star Wars. I wouldn't put it past anyone.
I'm gonna just make this. I'm gonna put it out there now while we're in like good vibes mode too. Man, Bo has another episode like this, Bob. I might have to just be like your enemy on this for the rest of the way until she proves me wrong. Because
well, we'll see if she starts, you know, being less of a hypocrite. Like I want someone that knows her history to point it out to her. Like I want to make an appearance on the show and kick in a saloon door and be like, I know what you did in your past, Bo-Katan. Like you were in Death Watch. I want CCTV footage shown to Mando.
Oh, like a CCTV of a guy assassinating his parents. We're gonna go down that one. All right,
we're talking about Star Wars, not Marvel.
You know,
not Marvel.
The Basement Sin has had some tough times here, but the good vibes are coming back. We just had a trip to fucking Disney together. If we're gonna be fighting after that, that's a real problem. So, the Bo and Bob meter, where are we at now? 1 to 10 in terms of like pure hatred for her.
Low now. Now I feel like a 5. I feel like it could almost like it's the Tony Hawk when you're grinding in the Tony Hawk. I'm on the meter. I'm right in the middle right now. It could sway quick one side or the other, but right now I'm in the middle. 5.
We'll take that. All right, we'll take that. Team Bo we'll accept that.
All right. Thank you everyone for listening. Make sure you like the video if you're watching on YouTube. If you're on the podcast feed. Oh, we did. We waited till the end. If you're on the podcast feed, here is our Last of Us recap with John Henry Feidelberg. Otherwise, we'll talk to you next week.